and I'm going to let you. So today we have Ashley Andrews is our speaker, and Ashley is our web developer and social media guru for Cooperative Extension and also the College of Ag. So I'm going to turn it over to Ashley.
Great. Turn my screen sharing on. And I'll put my presentation up and hit present. Does that look okay to everyone?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so you know my name and why I'm here. I'm not just a crazy stranger. Well, you know, maybe crazy, but at least not a stranger. And today I'm rambling incoherently with you guys on sharing your 4-H story through social media. And the reason why I'm doing that is y'all have 4-H stories to tell on social media. You're the best people to tell those stories. And when you do tell those stories, you help Extension to grow, you help 4-H to grow. And the skills that you learn as you do that grows you too. With this presentation, I'm not going to get super detailed into how to use the different platforms because y'all had Wi-Fi in the womb. You know how to use the internet better than I do. I'm going to give you best practices for each of the platforms, but we're not going to go like, first, open a browser window, then type www. Yes, Grandma, that's 3 W's. I know you guys are beyond that level. So instead of getting bogged down with those things that would bore you even more to tears than I will, we're going to focus on how to use your already existing internet skills to tell your 4-H social media stories in a way that is strategic. And in this presentation, if I don't mess it up or anything, this is how I'll do that. We'll cover these 8 questions. What are we trying to achieve? Who are we trying to reach? What do they want us to hear? What do we need them to hear? How did they want to hear it? What do we want them to do with what we have told them? How do we know if we are successful? And what are the rules for this? So let's get started with question 1. First, what are we trying to achieve? And this isn't a rhetorical question. Y'all are the 4-H experts. I'm the play on the internet all day and get paid for it expert. So what are you trying to achieve as you tell your 4-H stories? Any ideas out there?
Trying to inform people about 4-H's.
That's a good one. Let's write it down so we don't forget. Any other ideas of what we are trying to achieve when we tell our 4-H stories on social media? I see KK's thinking real hard.
Get people to join.
Ooh, that's a good one. Thank you, Sierra.
What we do in 4-H?
Cool.
I will tell you this morning on the flight home, I was talking to the gentleman next to me about what I did, and he said, "You mean like agriculture?" And so I got to go into the little 5-minute spiel about we don't just do agriculture anymore, but you know, it's that we have increased. The other piece is getting funding. You know, talking to people about what we need for funding.
Cool. Pushing buttons. So this is what we are trying to do when we tell our 4-H stories online. And this is a list that we need to memorize. These are our goals. Don't forget your goals like ever, because your goals are going to inform every single thing you do on social media, every post you make, every like you click, every account you follow. Your goals are going to inform everything that you do. If they didn't, you would just be making stuff up, posting nonsense. And I know this is the internet, that happens a lot, but you're not going to be doing that because you took the time to figure out what your goals are. And then question 2, with those goals kind of in mind, who are we trying to reach? who we are trying to reach is whose help we need to accomplish those goals. And that could be investors, innovators, implementers, connectors. It could also be students, prospects, alumni and friends, influencers. So going back to the list that we just made, who are we trying to reach to accomplish these goals? Any ideas?
People in our community.
Cool. And which goal do people in our community, which goal does that line up with?
I think it's more of the youth than anything else.
Oh,
Like,
youth.
it would inform the youth, it would be more interesting to youth.
I think that's interesting to everybody. I think that everybody would like to know what 4-H is.
Youth, people in our community. What about this one? Getting people to join 4-H. Who is our audience? Whose help do we need to accomplish this goal?
The parents and the kids.
Yes, because maybe the kids want to join, but they don't have rides or support from their parents. Or maybe the parents want them to join, but the kids are like, oh no, I do not want to learn how to make rockets. I don't want to shoot things. I don't want to have a cow, right? What about this one? What we do in 4-H? Who needs to know this? What's our audience for this to accomplish this goal?
Parents, kids in the community.
I think that other one would also be investors.
What we do in 4-H?
Mm-hmm.
Investors need to know that too. Well, that makes sense. If they're going to give us their money to do it, they kind of want to know that it's worth their cash.
Yep.
Unless they're just so rich that they're throwing it away.
There are
gonna
some
want
people.
to know. To get people to know 4-H isn't just ag, who do we need to reach? Whose help do we need? It's kind of similar to maybe this one. What do you think?
Yeah.
How about getting funding? To get money, whose help do we need?
Alumni.
Businesses.
Yep.
In extension, our funding comes from county, state, and federal partners. So who do you think sets those county, state, and federal budgets that put money into extension and then money into 4-H?
Our representatives.
Yes. Perfect. Once we know what our goals are, we figure out whose help we need. And then those are the people that we are trying to reach. And we just figured out who those all are. Once we know who those people are, we can figure out how to make them help us. We know whose help we need, and now we know how to extort it from them because we know who they are. Extort it in a good way, though, not a bad way. To accomplish that, we'll need to answer a few more questions to get them to actually help. Question 3, what did they want to hear? The people we are trying to reach want to hear about what's important to them. They are important to them, right? Is that grammatical? Anyway, they want to hear WIFM. Has anybody heard the acronym WIFM before? No, I see a lot of shaking heads. That's what's in it for me. So your representative, your Congress critter, when we go before the legislature and tell our 4-H stories on social media channels, tag them in it, maybe, that sort of thing, they're going to want to know what's in it for me. And that means when we're on social media telling our 4-H stories, we have to tell them through that lens, through the community's eyes, through parents' eyes, through kids' eyes, through our representatives' eyes. We have to tell them what in 4-H that we are doing is helping them. So when we think back to our list, what is in it for youth? What do youth get out of 4-H?
Leadership skills and communication.
Very good. What does the community get out of it?
They get youth that are more engaged in their community.
Yes. What do parents get out of it?
What a
Yeah, like, why do your parents like that you're 4-H?
better children.
I'm sure you're good kids already, but we'll make some slight improvements and send you home again, right? So better kids. What do investors get out of 4-H?
Their name associated with the premier youth development program.
Yes. Investors, they get enhancements.
Yeah.
Their personal and professional brands. Like Joann's fabric sale. Like we can go into Joann's and get Clovers and that money helps with us. Well, that helps Joann's too. Now they have a good reputation, a good name. They get free advertising all over 4-H social media channels that they never even had to pay a cent for. When we partner with Tractor Supply, same thing. They get an enhancement to their professional brand. And when a celebrity does things for 4-H, they get an enhancement with their personal brand. What do businesses get out of it? I kind of covered that when I kind of talked about Joann's. Maybe I can add that here. What do our representatives get out of it?
I'm letting you guys think first.
Carrie knows all the answers to this pop quiz.
Their name associated with with the youth organizations?
Yeah, they get enhancement to their professional and personal brands too. Definitely. What else do they get?
Helping youth to succeed.
But what does that do for them? Do you think politicians are in this for the warm and fuzzy feelings? Maybe.
They get a better community. Again, they get kids that are involved, youth and adults that are involved in their community.
Yep. And they get youth who have these leadership skills, communication skills, all of that sort of stuff. That's job skills.
Yep.
So as a representative, when you invest in 4-H, you end up getting some economic development benefits, not just community development benefits. You get people to hire, people for the people who donate to your campaign to hire.
And you also have, it's also youth that are involved in 4-H, they have found are more civically engaged as adults. And we have a lot of our youth, a lot of our participants that then run for public office. So it's building their replacements.
Yep.
Investing
Definitely.
in their replacements.
So that's what the people we are trying to reach want to hear. They want to hear the with them. But it's not all about them, right? It's about us too. So we need to take what we need them to hear and wrap it in goodness, like bacon. Tasty, tasty goodness. I'll eat vegetables when they're wrapped in bacon, right? So the people whose help we need will listen to our pleas for help and heed them when we wrap those pleas for help in bacon. And the bacon that they're looking for isn't the tasty bacon that I like wrapped around asparagus. The bacon they're looking for is this with them stuff. So what do we need them to hear? What are we going to wrap into bacon? We need them to hear purpose-driven extension stories. Not just random stories, not me reading yet another Ask Reddit thread on what is the creepiest thing that you have ever seen before bed and now I can't sleep stories. Purpose-driven stories, stories not told just to entertain, but to get something to happen as a result of the telling of those stories. Those stories are interesting, they're easy to read, and they help people to drink the Kool-Aid that extension is great, because it is. That 4-H is great, because it is. So we're telling them stories that aren't just strategic, like we just covered on that last slide, but also stories that we're talking about on this slide. They have to also be practical and research-based. They can't be old wives' tales, I just made stuff up lies. They gotta be worth it. Let people get something out of it that's gonna change their lives. And I'm so demanding, right? They can't just be strategic and practical and research-based. They also be a story that you can tell and tell briefly. If you can't tell it, don't. If you can't write that social post, let somebody else write it. Tell the stories you can tell. And the stories have to also be relevant, timely, and interesting, right? Relevant, timely, and interesting, that sounds like bacon. That sounds like what's in it for me with them. You have to make sure folks have a reason to tune into your story, listen to it, read it the whole way through, and they're not just sitting there thinking blah, 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 scrolling by and not even looking at you. Let me give you an example of a story, right, that is relevant to an audience. My husband tells me stories a lot about his Dungeons and Dragons game. I'm not his audience for that. I'm not interested in Dungeons and Dragons at all. And when I have a good day at the gym, like recently I hit my heavy triple for squat at 205 pounds, that's awesome. My husband, he does not care. I could have been doing line dancing at the gym like these guys are, and he does not care. I'm not my husband's audience for Dungeons and Dragons stories, and he's not my audience for powerlifting stories. So the stories that we're telling our audience are relevant to them, and if they're not, we're telling the wrong story. We need to save those stories for a different audience. And while I'm still belaboring of all these different things our social media stories have to do, they also have to clearly support our mission. They have to show that Extension 4-H is improving lives, growing our state, teaching others, inspiring people to make positive changes. They have to show that Extension 4-H gives parents better kids, right? Some examples of stories that do that, that meet all of these criteria we've spoken about in the last couple slides, are the ones that are in your brain, about your 4-H experiences, the 4-H events you've gone to, what you learned there, the impacts that your 4-H club has had, that you have had in your community, your 4-H successes. All of those things are examples that could meet all of these criteria that we've just talked about. But on the other hand, all of those things may not automatically meet that criteria. Just because it's about 4-H, maybe that doesn't mean it's bacony enough. It doesn't have enough with them in it. And I'll give you an example. I want to fundraise for Boy Scout camp. That's my goal. And to do that, I need to reach donors. So those are my audiences. And I know that donors want to hear what's in it for them. What's the impact of their dollars? How are they doing good in the world? And how is that good really going to show off their brand and give them a return on their investment? So I have a story to tell about Boy Scout camp, and I'm going to tell it, and it's going to be great, right? So I went to Boy Scout camp because that's what girls do, right? Totally. And at Boy Scout camp, we ate something for breakfast called Pico Paste. Have any of y'all ever had Pico Paste? Probably not, because this is Pico Paste. The oatmeal at Camp Pico Blanco has the consistency, not of oatmeal, but of paste. Gross, right? So we never ate it. Instead, we did productive things like make snowmen out of our breakfast. And then we took that plate that held our snowman and we held it upside down because we had nothing better to do. We just watched to see how long that paste snowman would stay affixed to that plate while upside down. How much gravity is needed to disturb pico paste? Turns out it's a lot, and that's probably why we weren't eating it. So that's my fantastic story, right? It's entertaining, it's a great story. It's got a visual even, but that story has no relevance to my audience. It doesn't help me to get my audience to achieve my goals. So it's not the right story or angle to tell them. Just because it's on topic doesn't mean it's the right story. So maybe I could try a different angle. Maybe the angle is the quality and nutrition of the food, not the angle that we didn't eat it, but the angle that maybe pico paste is this consistency because it is so nutritious and good for you. And maybe we could get a cereal company to donate their food that we could use to make this pico paste, and it would nourish young bodies and minds, and they'd get all this publicity out of it. Maybe that's the angle we take. Or maybe another angle could be that Camp Pico Blanco teaches kids how to think like a scientist in ways that are fun. So fun that Camp Pico ends up with youth performing valid, scientifically sound experiments at breakfast for fun. And so we can get, Bill Nye the Science Guy to invest because his brand is fun and science-based on teaching kids how to do science. But if I can't tell those angles on the pico paste snowman here, then I shouldn't be telling the pico paste snowman story at all to this audience to accomplish these goals. So if you can't think of a story to tell, or if you end up with stories like your pico paste snowman and you're having a hard time, what do we need them to hear? One way to find what we need them to hear is to go on to the 4-H website. 4-H National has a marketing section that's free to access. Yeah, you have to give them your email address, but they got all y'all's email addresses anyway. But once you get in, they'll give you some topics that you can start with. So if you're not sure where to start, this is where to start on the 4-H website. Pick one of those and, get ready to tweet about it. But before you hit the big friendly button to post that tweet, make sure that you've tailored it, put that angle on it, so that way the people that you'll reach with this story are the ones whose help you need to accomplish your goals. They're the ones who are affected by this topic or issue. And they've got that angle there to make them care. And keep them in mind as you're writing the tweet. So that way you're writing it in their audience language, writing it in their language, sorry. My brain doesn't always work. And in their language, you're going to tell them the who, what, where, when, and why of your story. You're going to explain the conflict clearly. And it's always good if there's conflict in your stories. Because who curls up to read the world's most boring book ever? Ashley went to work today. Nothing happened. Ashley went home. Nothing happened there either. Ashley went to bed. Didn't dream about anything. Ashley then got up and went to work. Nothing happened. Who reads that? Nobody. Nobody reads that. So find that conflict in your story and explain it clearly without jargon in the language of your audience. Because if your investor has never seen a cow before in person, because they're rich and their hamburger comes in packages, you can't use the words that you use when you're at your large animal club meeting. Or if you're talking to somebody who's never experimented with a rocket, you can't talk to them like you talk at your rocketry club meeting. And find the why does your story matter? Find the why of it. If you can find the why of it, you can make people care about it. And if you can't, then they won't care about your story. They won't care about you. They won't care about us. And then I won't get paid to play on the internet all day anymore. Because Extension 4-H will be out of business. And that'll be sad. And it's all about me, right? And you won't achieve those goals that we talked about earlier if you can't find the why. And when you're telling your story and you're giving it its happy little ending, don't forget to highlight the benefits and outcomes in a way that is meaningful for your audience. You know them, their language, and what they care about, so use it. Wrap that story in some bacon. Going back to my example that I had before of my husband wanting to play Dungeons and Dragons, right? He wants to play it every Tuesday night. So when he's telling me the benefits of him playing it once a week, he shouldn't be telling me how fun it is for him, because I don't care. He needs to tell me what I care about him playing it every week. And what I care about is he's out of my hair one night a week, every week, right? That's what I care about. Those are the benefits to talk about for me. And for the outcomes to talk about for me is with that one night a week benefit there of him out of my hair, I now can eat my bacon in peace one night a week, right? So speak their language. Tell them about what matters to them. You're also telling them what matters to you, but you've got enough bacon on their plate that they will hardly notice that part, and they will help you. Now we have another question. The questions just never end. How do they want to hear it? We've got this fancy story that we just wrote, right? But if you make this gorgeous story that does all of this stuff, it informs people what 4-H is. And it shows the highlights and benefits that just really matter, all this. So that way you can get me to donate to 4-H. If you call me to tell me that gorgeous story you just spent all the time developing to tell me that story, I'm not going to answer the phone. My phone isn't a phone, okay? This thing is a $1,000 Facebook machine. It's not a phone. I don't actually like dial and hello. Who does that? No. This thing is for Insta. It's not for phones. So if you call me to tell me your awesome story and I'm your audience, you've just missed me. You spent all that time developing a story and got nothing out of it. Your goals aren't accomplished. You wasted your life. I won't even listen to the voicemail. So if I'm your audience, you have to tell me your story, how I want to hear it. And I want to hear it on social media. Specifically, I want to hear it on Facebook because I'm old. And that's where all the fun, haven't yet broken a hip old people hang out. If you don't know where your people hang out, ask them. So if you're targeting your county commissioners, if you're targeting your representatives at the state level, go to their web pages. See what links they have to social channels. Usually they're in the header or the footer of the website. They're probably going to have Facebook. They're probably going to have LinkedIn. They're probably going to have Twitter. They might not have Insta because they're even older than I am. I'm getting up there. You see all these gray hairs? So if you don't know where your audience hangs out, just ask them and then go there. And go there in the correct number of characters, in the correct number of words, like Twitter has a limit, Insta has a limit. And in the tone, watch how other people are talking and talk in that same way. Go there, go how it goes. That's where you hit up your audience. And then, after you've gone there and told them that, tell each other. Tell me, tell Carrie to go there and tell them that too. So where should your story be posted internally? You post it on the channels that your people are on, right? The audience that you need to help, but post it internally. So post it on 4-H Online or on the Extension website or on Extension's main Facebook page or on Nevada 4-H's main Facebook page. So that way our faculty and staff, like we see what you're telling your representatives and we can help you tell them that too. It's like nagging, only better in surround sound. It's like when your mom and your dad tell you to clean your room. It's like when your best friend and your other best friend and your boyfriend all tell you that your shoes are totally and you need to buy new ones. You're more likely to listen if you hear it multiple times. It's just how the world works. So we can help you tell your audience in surround sound if you just let us know. But before you specifically go there to that channel where your peeps are to tell them all your awesome stories about bacon in a live video, here are a few tips that are true for all social channels. On them, you don't just represent yourself or even just your 4-H club, right? You represent 4-H and Cooperative Extension. But not just Nevada 4-H and Nevada Cooperative Extension, all 4-H and all cooperative extensions everywhere. A lot of pressure, right? What you say can bring people closer to 4-H and cooperative extension. If your social posts are relevant to 4-H, appeal to the majority of our fans and followers, are relatable, include a call to action, but they can, what you say on social, all your social posts, they can also drive people away from cooperative extension and away from 4-H. If what you're posting feels like spam, isn't relevant to 4-H or your audience, or is only relevant to a small section of your audience. So make yourself and us look good, right? Do that by remembering what you find is out there forever. Y'all have seen that picture of Beyonce, right? The one her publicist wants her to take down. It's the best picture ever. She's on stage and she's dancing, and it's really unflattering. Like, that's what it looks like. Her publicist is going around telling people to take it down. You know what happens when you tell people on the internet to take something down? We put it up everywhere. So see how well that's worked for her. A whole bunch of bad pictures of her out there. They're just always going to be out there. Just like poor Beyonce, everything you say and do on the internet is going to be out there forever. So don't ever do anything that looks this ugly, okay? To make sure that what stays out there forever doesn't look that ugly, don't be lazy about it, right? Keep your typos down. Don't post fake news. Don't post stolen stuff. Like Dora says, no swiping, swiper. Read what you wrote. Read it again. Have somebody else read it. Check your sources. And I don't just mean like go back to where you got that specific number. Like 51% of 4-Hers are great. Go to other places and make sure, because maybe that person posted the wrong number. And if you don't have that exact number from a couple different places, that number might be wrong. And if it's wrong, then you're wrong. It doesn't matter that somebody else was wrong first. You're still wrong. Be accurate, be research-based, objective, informative, ask for permission to use other people's stuff, give credit when you do, and do all of that to your social post before you even post it. After it's out there, it's too late. That's what happened to Beyonce. Another tip for all channels is to like post stuff on them. For your social account to be valued, it has to have stuff without long gaps in between the stuff. So consistent stuff. Participate often, consistently, every day if you can. For people to value your social channels, they also have to be able to find it. And that's where links come in. Link all the things. Y'all are probably too young for this meme because I'm old. But yeah, link all the things. So if you have a Facebook that represents your Rocketry Club, link to it in your email signature, link to it on the extension website, link to it on the 4-H website, link to it everywhere you can think of. If it's an account that represents you as a person, you're going to be a little bit more particular about where you link it. You don't want creepy stalkers, only good stalkers. And speaking of stalkers, another thing to do is this: stalk people. Follow and engage with each other, with people like you, with people who are like the audience that you're trying to reach. Start conversations with them. Like, follow, and share their stuff. Because then they'll like, follow, and share your stuff. And their followers will find you. And then you'll have more followers. And when you have more followers, you can ask them for more money. And when you're stalking, get inspiration from it. What are they doing well? Copy it. Then you can skip ahead of all that trial and error stuff that they went through. You can learn from them. What are they doing really badly? Don't do that, right? You'll still make mistakes, but they'll be different ones. And learn not just from the people you stalk. Learn from 4-H too. Use the resources that they provide in the online marketing part of their website. Remember that each post that you make in telling your 4-H story. It's just a small piece of your overall story. You don't have to try and cram it all in. Ain't nobody got time for that. Not you. You don't have time to write it. And not your audience. They don't have time to read that. If you do get super long, you're going to need to TLDR this thing, okay? TLDR is an abbreviation. Too long, didn't read. Y'all know that, right? So if you're going to write a big old long story, because maybe you have to, some social posts, you just really have to explain things in a little bit more detail. Okay, include a TLDR statement right at the top, like too long, didn't read, 4-H is great. Here's some details. And use paragraph breaks, please. I ain't reading a wall of text. I'm just not. And use original images, especially with people in them. Even if they're ugly people, people love photos. They don't care if they're good photos of good-looking people, right? People will engage with a photo, even if it looks like this, more than they will with just the words. So don't worry too much. Like, oh, my hair isn't the greatest. Nobody cares. Research shows your hair can be whatever. People just want to engage with a photo, with a person. So use those photos. And not just photos. Use hashtags and use handles. When you use hashtags and handles, people can find your stuff. And they can comment on it. And they can get you more followers. And when you use the handles, like if you tag UNR Extension, that notifies me. And when you tag Nevada 4-H, that notifies Carrie. And we see your stuff and then we share it. We get you more followers. You get more money. And not to just tie it all to money, because I know y'all had other goals too, but you get more kids in 4-H. You get more people who know that 4-H isn't just agriculture. You get more parents willing to chaperone at 4-H camp so more boys can go. Because it seems like they always have a hard time finding boy chaperones. So just a quick best practices on Facebook, right? When you're on Facebook, you're gonna use those generic tips we just talked about, the hashtags, the handles, all that fun stuff. But you're also gonna use location, because when you check in at 4-H, it notifies Carrie. When you check in at Extension, it notifies me, and we share your stuff. And folks who are trying to figure out, is there parking at Extension? And they look us up, they see your stuff too now. So you're getting more followers. Post that visual content. It does very well on Facebook. Text does okay too if it's engaging. To be engaging, it has to be read. If it's long, TLDR it. Post about once a day during your audience's peak hours. And your analytics will tell you when those peak hours are. On Insta, post photos that tell a story. Post photos with active participation. You know, good lighting helps. In focus would be great too. And be short and sweet, like me. Haha, no, just kidding. I'm only short. And post as much as you can on there during live events especially. On Twitter, okay, Twitter isn't like Insta. On Insta, you go like hashtag town, right? Like 100 hashtags. People do that. On Twitter, like 1 or 2. And tweet a lot. Facebook and Insta, you're posting a lot, but no, like tweet a lot. You can hardly post too much to Twitter. It's crazy. Also there, you're gonna need to be short because it, like Insta, has character limits. And being short also leaves room for other people to retweet your stuff. Yes, this, oh my gosh, 4-H is great. Somebody can add that to the beginning of one of your tweets and share it with all their people, putting your info before all of their followers. Amplifying the impact of your message. Letting more people know that 4-H isn't just ag. You don't have to have a sheep. Use short clickable links. And go for facts, statistics, stuff like that. It plays really well on Twitter. LinkedIn is probably the platform out of all of the social channels that y'all may have not played in as much. Because a lot of people on LinkedIn are professionals. And you're close, but maybe you're not quite there yet. But LinkedIn is a good place to post 4-H content, especially 4-H content aimed at these guys, representatives, parents, investors, businesses. Because all those people have jobs, and people on LinkedIn have jobs, and people with jobs have money, and we could use some of that. On LinkedIn, since everyone's professional there, we have to be too. You don't have to post there quite as often, but the stuff you're posting is going to look a little bit different. You're going to be posting like professional development news, blogs from respected contributors, maybe articles written by qualified specialists in their respective fields. Perhaps those folks are 4-H alums, and we can just use the content they've written and like see how awesome 4-H is. This is written by a great 4-H alumni who's an expert in hamburgers, right? And as we move on to finally the next question, right? We're moving from how does our audience want to hear our content to what do we want them to do with it? We're kind of right back where we started with purpose-driven extension stories, stories that are intentional, strategic, and rooted in our mission. Stories told for a reason. They're designed to get someone to do something after reading them. So what do we want our audience to do with what we have told them? Back to this thing again. What do we want parents to do with the 4-H messages that we're telling them? Any ideas?
Be involved.
Did you say be more involved?
Yeah.
Cool. What do we want investors to do with after we've told them stuff, right? What do we want them to do next?
Support us.
Yay! You're not asleep. I'm very excited. And you have good answers. And this legislative season, we've got a program enhancement request out there for 4-H. And that's just a fancy way of saying this legislative session, we're begging, right? We're asking our representatives for money. So when we tell them our 4-H stories, what do we need out of them? Has something to do with our program enhancement request. What do representatives do? They show up. Hopefully they've read some things that they're going to then what on? They say yay, they say nay.
They vote on it?
Right? So we want people to vote to support our program enhancement request. Exactly. You're so smart. And with that in mind, we have to be very careful about our stories. We have to make sure they all start and end with the why. And that's why I buried this slide directly in the middle of the presentation, is because we have to start with it. I'm smart like that. See what I did there? Yeah, I make perfect sense. And how will we know if we're successful? How will we know if our stories we told that were told to make people do stuff actually made them do stuff? Any thoughts?
More people joining.
Yes. So if we're successful, maybe we'll get like more kids enrolled.
More funding.
Yes, I love money. Don't you love money? Money's good. Right?
Me, I love money.
What about parents, if they read our stuff, how will we know if they did something with it?
They'll enroll their kids in it? Yes.
Yeah, they will. And then what? Well, do you think they'll just like sit on the couch and not do anything themselves?
They would be more involved in it, like they said earlier.
Yeah. So maybe they'll chaperone 4-H camp.
Or go to meetings. And not just drop their kids off.
Oh, go to meetings. So to figure out if we have more kids enrolled after we tell our social media stories in a campaign, we have to first know how many kids were enrolled before the campaign started, right? We have to know how many chaperones we got in an average year for all the 4-H camps prior. Then we run our campaign. Then we figure out how many chaperones we got this year. Was it more? Was it less? Same thing with go to meetings. How many people usually show up? So to know if we're successful, we have to figure out our success metrics, which we just did, and then we have to capture them. We need that before data and the after data. And social media is great. Like we stalk other people on social media stalks us. And all of that stalking, they put in analytics that y'all can look at to see those metrics. So if we're trying to increase awareness of 4-H, and we look at the Nevada 4-H Facebook page before we begin telling all of our 4-H social media stories, and it says we have 5 likes. And then we run our campaign, and afterwards we have 10 likes. We know we were successful. We know our story was heard. And sometimes when we look at those metrics, we can figure out what we can do better next time. Because on those analytics, it'll tell us that most of our audience on the Nevada 4-H Facebook page is women. So maybe what we could do better next time is reach some men. Or maybe what we can do better next time is make sure our content is tailored to women, since that's who's there. When we're capturing data, we can start thinking about those things. We can start thinking about, did we suck at this? Did we accomplish something? What did we do well? And how can we fail better next time? And now you know how to tell your 4-H story on social media, but there are rules for this because we're a government agency and we love having rules in government. We also love paperwork, and there's paperwork for this too, right? We've answered so many questions, and the first 7 that we answered apply to both personal social media accounts, so Ashley as a people, and to like brand social media accounts, so Ashley as the famous celebrity, or University of Nevada Cooperative Extension as a brand. But what are the rules for this question? It's really pointed at those brand accounts, those people-less accounts. And examples, not just Extension's main account, but also 4-H's account, their main big account. And then examples for this can be small accounts that you may not even like realize there are rules for, on like club accounts. 4-H Rocketry Club has an account. There are rules they should know. And that's what we're gonna cover next here, this one last question. So that way, once we're done here, you can stop sleeping here on Zoom and can go sleep somewhere else, right? And the first rule of Fight Club is try really hard not to make new accounts. If you make new accounts, a new one on your own, you have to manage it on your own. And that's work. As a one-person show, if you join an existing account, like if you collaborate with Carrie to submit posts to the main 4-H page, or if you collaborate with me to submit posts to the main extension page, you don't have to manage it on your own. You have me and Carrie, we got your back. It's easier. It makes your life easier that way. It also makes mine easier too, because my job is to try and keep track of all the new accounts y'all keep making. That's a really hard job. And if you create a new account, there's paperwork and legwork involved. An important part of the paperwork, which is, this form here, is identifying some administrators to be on it. And that's administrators plural. So that way, If one of us gets hit by a bus, or if Carrie decides to just rage quit, fine, I didn't want to be part of 4-H anyway, the rest of us can keep the account going. She didn't run off with it and start trashing our brand. It didn't go dormant, making it look like 4-H in Nevada died. We had backup admins on there that could step in and save the day. If you run or help to run an existing account, like for your 4-H club, hit me up, because I'll help you to figure out if that paperwork was ever done. And if you need to start a new account, hit me up, because I'll help you with that paperwork. If you don't, you're getting cold for Christmas, and that would be sad. And the second rule of Fight Club is that all social media accounts representing extension 4-H must carry the university's block and logo, presented in ways that adhere to the university's brand logo and style guidelines. And this is important. The university has logo police to enforce this. Just like they have me, a play on the internet all day person, they have David Branby. And his job is to go around and look really closely at logos all day. Sounds like a great job, right? Yeah. And just like UNR has the logo police, there are Clover police too. So make sure that your 4-H account has the Clover on it.
That's me.
Clover police. Troublemaker.
I try not to be the Clover police, but it happens.
You're totally the Clover police. And don't just like use the logo and the Clover, use them correctly, because otherwise we all end up going to Carrie jail. She just locks us in her dark room that barely even has a window. Some rules, like quick and easy ones to remember, they both like space around them, which is totally not depicted here. And they both like to be prominent on the page, which is depicted here. So hey, 1 out of 2, that's not bad, right? Another rule, don't get us sued. To help with that, link to the university's EEOAA statement. That's our statement to say that we're not racist, sexist jerks, right? Also link to statements when you need them. So if you're posting to the extension 4-H page, you're putting up an event, Capital Days, you'll need this statement or a link to it. Persons in need of special accommodations or assistance must call or notify Carrie at 911 at least 3 days prior to the scheduled meeting at 2 a.m., right? Because Carrie likes phone calls at 2 a.m.
I've had them before from 4-H staff.
And for some light reading to really get into the rules, take a look at the university's social media policy, 4-H's social media policy, Extension's social media policy. All of these policies and guides I'm mentioning, they're perfect to help you fall asleep when it's late and your brain just won't turn off. Yeah, just kidding. Y'all are asleep already. You didn't even need the manual. Yay, more reading, look at that. Also check out Extension's communication and public relations guidelines. And be accessible. This is the social media accessibility cheat sheet. I'm gonna give it to Carrie. I'm gonna give my PowerPoint to Carrie, all these links to Carrie. She's gonna give them to you. Use them, cheat off the sheet. So that way you can be accessible. And being accessible means making the stuff that we do on social media, our 4-H stories, making them accessible to people of all abilities. So we're not gonna post a story that, hey, if you use a guide dog, you can't read this story. We don't want people with visual impairments in 4-H, right? No. We help everybody. That's what 4-H does. That's what Extension does. We help everybody. Even people who are colorblind, even people who are height challenged like me, right? It's also the law. So don't get us sued. Use the cheat sheet. And here's a couple things the cheat sheet will cover. Provide people help on social media. So that way they can contact Extension 4-H or Facebook if they run into trouble. If we give them an easy contact, maybe they'll go here instead of straight to the lawyer. Provide sufficient color contrast. So don't use pink on red. Nobody can see that. Don't use blue on green. Who's going to be able to read blue type on a green background? And use plain language. So don't use jargon, acronyms, abbreviations. Caption your videos accurately. This is an email that I got from Cindy Kay. She works for Extension. She doesn't work in 4-H, but that's okay. I still talk to her. I won't hold that against her. She was trying to upload a YouTube video for Healthy Kids Resource Center, and it was dance instructions for a video for kids. These were the captions that YouTube automatically generated. A couple problems here. The first one is, if you can't hear, so if you have an impairment, maybe you're deaf, hard of hearing, you can't learn this dance because those dance steps make no sense. What is a pan-pan? It's not a dance step. Not only that, there's like the F word in the middle of a university video for kids. Good times, right? So caption your videos, caption them accurately, keep the swear words out of them if you can. It's not just videos that need to be accessible, your images do too. So put some alt text up. Facebook has an alt text feature, and you can go into the options on the photo to set the alt text. A robot tries to set the alt text, but robots are really bad at guessing. They're like, what's this photo? I don't know. A bird. No, that's not a bird, robot. You're terrible at this game. Go home. You're drunk, robot. So go into that alt text, edit it, and describe the image in the post too, if you can, because the alt text only gets shown to people with visual impairments who use screen readers. So people who are legally blind but not completely blind, or people who just are colorblind. They ain't got a screen reader on. They'll miss that alt text, but they still won't be able to read this quote. So cover all the bases. Put it in the alt text, put it up here in the text itself, and try to stay away from text and images. Screen readers won't read that at all. Ha, good times. So, you know, let's throw somebody under the bus here. Don't do this or that either, or that. Because what this does is it tells blind people, like, we don't want you. And that's not okay.
So with that, Ashley, I do have a question. So those pictures actually were on like those ones are of mine. They were on like a post originally. Do you suggest going through and like editing every single one? Because they came up on an actual post.
Even if they were on a post originally, that post never should have happened.
Okay.
So if I had this event flyer and I had it hanging up in the hallway, that was designed for print. It wasn't designed for digital. Digital and print are two separate things.
Okay.
So for digital, what I would do is I would go to the design file for that flyer, and I would save this picture of some strange animal, and I'm a city slicker, so I don't know. Is this a sheep, guys? Help me. Yay! So I would save this picture of a sheep, and I would upload the sheep as the photo instead of the flyer as the photo. And then I would put the text from the design file, I would copy it, and I would paste it in the text.
Interesting. Okay. Good to know.
Yeah, but we can't. You have a very, very good question, because you're wanting to help people by going back. We can go back and add text here if you want, but we can't go back and delete these.
Definitely. Yeah, I knew that one. So, okay, cool.
So I love how helpful you are, and that you're trying to open up the world of 4-H to everybody and close it to lawyers because we don't like them.
No.
Yeah, just be careful when you go back. Don't delete.
No. Okay, so perfect. So just take all that off and just put it as, okay. That's good to know, because I always do that. I post all of our flyers, you know, because it's like, oh, I want everyone to see everything. So, okay, good to know how to word it. Thank you.
Oh, don't worry. I'm guilty of it too. And all of the webmasters are before me too. Check this out. So go here, publications. Do search maybe. Keywords. I don't know. Cow. Oh no, sheep, because I know what sheep is now, right? Yeah. So whoever posted this, and this is before my time, it's inaccessible. It's as bad as this. But back in the day, before accessibility was what people had in mind, and before lawyers caught onto it, this is what we all did. And we did it because it's faster and easier to get the information out to as many people as possible.
And it looks good. It looks cool.
Yes, it does.
But yeah. But I prefer not to get sued. I mean, it's, you know, sued is not my favorite color, so.
Right?
Yeah.
Mine either. And back to ways not to get sued. In your hashtags, use camel case, like revive civility, instead of running it all together with all little letters and not capitalizing the beginnings of each word. This helps people who use screen readers to hear what the hashtag sounds like, because it tells screen readers where one word starts and where another word starts. Without that, the screen reader tries to sound out revive civility as one giant word. It also helps not just not to get us sued, but to help us not to be embarrassed. Because somebody started this hashtag, and it was the Children's Laughter House. And they started using hashtag Children's Laughter and hashtag Children's Laughter House. Well, that looks like children's laughter or like children's slaughter. Are we killing people here? That's not nice. It helps people on the internet to take hashtags not the wrong way, if at all possible, when we capitalize them. Now, people on the internet will still take things the wrong way. We're immature. If there's a way to slaughter children, we'll do it on the internet. But camel casing, it helps to prevent some of that. And then end with your hashtags and your at mentions. Use descriptive or shortened links and end with those too, just like you ended with the hashtags. A descriptive link, it's short, it tells you where you're going to go. unr.edu is a descriptive link. If you have a link that you need to post that isn't descriptive, run it through Bitly first, so that way it becomes shorter. If you don't, and you have a really long URL like this one, the screen reader goes https:// and oh my gosh, on a long URL, you could like die before you figured out where this link was taking you. So be short and sweet and put them at the bottom. That way they read your message first before the screen reader robot bores them to death with that URL. Here's an example of that. At the bottom, we've got the tags, then we've got the link, and I know this is a bad link. Here's the image description, and here's the post. And on top of the post, if my screen were taller, it would like go that way some more, you would see that this photo was that was there. And then this is kind of what me and Lacey were chatting about just a minute ago. Don't violate the Constitution. And you're thinking like, dude, I'm a like young person. I'm in 4-H. I'm just talking about my rocket, my cow, my Legos. How can I be violating the Constitution? Well, you totally can. Isn't that cool? Not really. On social media, there are laws that protect what people say from anything happening to it. The First Amendment. So if you're on a Facebook page or group and you're posting to it, you're posting to the state 4-H page or the UNR extension page or your club page, and somebody writes back, I hate you and your potato face, you can't delete it, even if you're mad that they called you a potato face, because calling you a potato face is their First Amendment right. And if you delete it, they could sue you. And when they sue you, they really sue Carrie. When they sue Carrie, they really sue me. And like Carrie and I, we don't have money.
No.
So we pay for your lawsuit.
And I was going to say, they might block, you know, I just got blocked from commenting on a Facebook page or Facebook post because I tried to explain to them that they were breaking the law about the use of the 4-H name and emblem. So now I'm not allowed to comment on that anymore.
Fun times. If the person that's blocking you, if they're like Donald Trump, or if they're, I don't know, we got Dean Heller, or if they're University of Nevada, Reno, those are all like public forums, public entities. That's all a violation of the Constitution. So don't ban, delete, or hide comments, users, none of that. We'll get sued. There are some cases, where we can delete something, but before we do, we have to determine with a lawyer that it meets the special case, and we have to document it. So if you run into something that could be a special case like hate speech, Now, if somebody, instead of calling you a potato face, calls like somebody the N-word, or says, like my friend Heather is Jewish, and on her Facebook page, somebody said they wanted to gas her like the Nazis, that's hate speech. That sort of stuff I can help you all take down. So if you run into that sort of thing, hit me up. If you're not sure if it could be a violation of the Constitution to delete, hide, ban, whatever's, hit me up. I'll let you know if it is. And if it's not, I'll help you to take it down. So here's what we've talked about so far. What are we trying to achieve? Who are we trying to reach? What do they want to hear? What do we need them to hear? How do they want to hear it? What do we want them to do with what we have told them? How do we know if we're successful? And what are the rules for this? So now we're experts. We can go out and tell our 4-H social media story. And we can get people to change their lives and ours through those stories. I've covered my 8 questions. Do y'all have 8 questions for me? Or, just one?
I will let you guys know that we're going to be asking you to give us some social media posts. We like on our Facebook page, for the Nevada 4-H Facebook page, I probably what I'll do is have you send me the post, and then I'll post it, just because it's a little bit easier. Facebook is a little different, but we, like with Twitter and with Instagram, I think Ashley and I are still kind of working on how we're gonna do that. But our Nevada 4-H Twitter account is pretty much not even used. Or if you guys have ideas of other social media venues that we can use. I mean, I'm old. I don't know all of them. Yeah. So I need to know from you guys what the best ones to reach. We are going to have to use some of the older ones because we are trying to reach our representatives. But, we do want to share it with younger audiences as well.
Definitely.
So that's where I'm going to be coming to you guys, asking you what we should be using.
I would love it if y'all would write social media posts, and maybe not just for Carrie for the 4-H page, but also for the main extension page.
Mm-hmm.
My Insta particularly looks really bad. Like, I'll give you all the password. You can just take it over. I need all the help I can get. I'm a one-woman show. And like Carrie mentioned earlier, I'm not just doing social. I'm also the web developer here. So I got to code and stuff. So I could use anything with me.
We may take a week or two and let you guys do a youth Instagram takeover. I don't know if you guys have seen that. I've seen a lot of organizations do that, and it's awesome.
Especially if you have something coming up. If there's an event, you take it over for the event, or if there's a conference and you're traveling to it, you can take it while you're packing, while you're traveling, while you're there, on the way back.
So question, would the guys that are all the youth that are on right now, would anybody be interested in taking over it for like fair for me in Northeast Clark County? I mean, would you feel confident, Ashley and Carrie, that they took over for me? Because I would love it. Like, I get the same pictures in every picture, and it seems like my child is in like 87 of them, because obviously I have to watch him. But I mean, this year is going to be insane because we're showing 2 animals and blah, blah, blah. So I would absolutely totally trust you guys. If Carrie and Ashley's on board with giving you all of my account information, just run with it. Just don't take pictures of my kid, because they get everywhere already. So please take other people's kids. So I don't know. I would feel confident with you guys taking that over for me.
I think that would be great, and a great way to showcase the fair.
Mm-hmm. Especially if we have photo releases for the people we're, stalking and taking their photos.
Yeah, most of the people we do, we're really lucky out here for at least our Logandale people and Mesquite people. There are a couple. With that, I usually just send an email to like their leader, letting them know before they have their club meetings, letting them know what's up. But yeah, even if they want to check with me on certain pictures or whatever, I could work with you guys directly. I would absolutely appreciate that.
And I have verbiage for signs that we put up at events that's like, you put it at the door. So by coming into this event, you're going to get your photo taken. And if you don't want your photo taken, you need to tell the photographer. So I can give you the verbiage for that. It's gone by University Legal, and that along with the photo releases will help cover our rear ends and help not to get us sued.
That would be really good walking into the barns and stuff, Lacey.
I would love that, and I think that would make all the organizations feel a lot better. So, because I know CCJLA, our livestock board, like they have that technically, like all the kids that walk into the arena, you know, they could be technically taking a picture of, and some of them I don't have releases on 4-H. So it's interesting. Like I don't know how that works, but they're like, oh well, they signed it when they joined CCJLA or whatever. So that would, I think, make them feel a lot better too. Just another double protect ourselves.
Protection's important.
Yeah, so if you want to send that to me, I will get that poster size blown up and stuck everywhere.
Yeah, we put it on sandwich boards when they walk in. There's a sign-in table, we put in a little plastic thing on the sign-in table. Right. Hey, we've tried.
You could post it on the doors. You could post it on the, I'm thinking on the, you know, you could post it on the bleachers. I mean, there's lots of places.
That's great. Yeah, if I get that before the fair, it would make my life a lot easier at the fair. Thank you.
And
No problem.
if I don't know, KK, are you planning on going to the fair? I'm assuming you probably are. And I know Sierra will be there. And then we'll get the others from Clark County. I think that won't, you know, I'm trying to think most everybody that's on here from Clark County could do that. And then what we'll do with the Elko County, I mean, Elko County is still a few months away. They're not, but they may have some events coming up that they could do a takeover, you know, and what you could do is take over both Lacey's page and then maybe the extension Instagram page.
Definitely.
So, and then we can, and I know Lacey's always excellent about tagging Nevada 4-H on her page, so then it posts on ours. So.
Thank you, Lacey.
No problem. I'll try not to get us sued. Like that really stresses me out with those stupid flyers. Oh my gosh. So I'm texting Diana like, oh my gosh.
Everyone does it.
So please.
You're not You're not it, Lacey. It's everybody. So if you guys are good with that, there's a couple of things that I want us to, you know, as you know, I want you guys to be thinking about what kind of social media posts can you do that would share your story. So think about how 4-H has influenced you the most. What has made the biggest difference in your life by being involved in the 4-H program? And, you know, as Ashley said, and then let's figure out how we can relate it back to, you know, to these different groups. You know, if we want to target investors, you know, at one point, or if we want to target youth at one point, and I think we want to target all of them. So we need to, do you guys, I mean, just off the top of your head, do you have thoughts about that? I know it takes a little bit it's kind of like that 5-minute elevator speech. You have to think about it a little bit. But I will tell you that I think isn't our session next Tuesday night? I think it is. I can't remember. It's either, yeah, I'm sure it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday and Thursday night. Let me double check on my calendar. No, come on. Yes, it's Tuesday night, and I can't find a presenter for what I want to do. So what I'm thinking we were going to do is spend that evening going over our 5-minute elevator speeches. We can talk about these social media posts and, you know, maybe work on those a little bit. You know, have you guys think about those types of things. Does that sound like a plan? And actually do the practice, as all of our presenters have said. So we can spend that hour and a half really practicing and working on those. So, all right. Thank you, Ashley. Great presentation.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for staying.
Thank you, Ash.
Thanks for giving me awesome, thoughtful answers. You're awesome.
Yes, I appreciate that. You know, and I'm going to send you those links. And then I was thinking about, I'm going to send you the link to that marketing page that Ashley mentioned on the National 4-H page. Not necessarily, you know, you may not, it's designed for staff, but there may be some pieces in there that you might find interesting, you know, that you could even use in your club. you know, it's open to everybody, but there are some, you know, there's lots of photos. We're not quite, there's no Nevada photos yet. We're working on that. They came and took a bunch at camp, but I don't think they've uploaded them onto that page yet. But, you know, there's just a whole variety of things. You know, if you want press releases, or they have sample Facebook posts, they have pretty much everything. So any questions for me or for Ashley? I'm thinking, Ashley, we may want to do, I know you've done accessibility trainings, but we may want to do some more for 4-H staff specifically.
I'm down. And I sent out an email for people to sign up for a Zoom session that the university is doing. So if 4-Hers want to party crash that, that's cool too.
So.
Yeah. Typically for me, since I suck at life, thanks, Ashley.
Okay. Believe me, Lacey, you're not the only one. I do it too. You know.
I didn't even do it on purpose. I went to the listing of 4-H social channels, and I just started at the top, and with East Clark starting with an E, y'all were at the top of the alphabet. It's in alphabetical order.
I knew I should have been Northeast. No, I'm just kidding. Like, I don't even know like who ever made the page years and years and years ago. I think it was Lori. And yeah, it's like when trying to explain this to people, like, oh, this is our page, and it's just the weirdest thing. I hate trying to write that out.
So, yep. Yeah. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I'll let you guys go. We're just.
Bye, everybody.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
you.
And I will talk to you guys next Tuesday. I'll send the recording and everything.